The project work performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with establishing project processes, managing physical resources, and fostering a learning environment. What are the desired outcomes here, Mr. Izgi?
Mr. Tekir, effective execution of this performance domain results in the many desired outcomes, such as efficient and effective project performance. Project processes are appropriate for the project and the environment. Appropriate communication with stakeholders. Efficient management of physical resources. Effective management of procurements, and improved team capability due to continuous learning and process improvement.
What is the purpose of this domain in general?
Project work is associated with establishing the processes and performing the work to enable the project team to deliver the expected deliverables and outcomes. Project work keeps the project team focused and project activities running smoothly. This includes managing the flow of existing work, new work, and changes to work, keeping the project team focused, establishing efficient project systems and processes, communicating with stakeholders, managing material, equipment, supplies, and logistics, working with contracting professionals and vendors to plan and manage procurements and contracts, monitoring changes that can affect the project, and enabling project learning and knowledge transfer.
Now we come to a new topic, which is project processes.
Yes, the project manager and the project team establish and periodically review the processes the project team is using to conduct the work. This can take the form of reviewing task boards to determine if there are bottlenecks in the process, if work is flowing at the expected rate, and if there are any impediments that are blocking progress. Process tailoring can be used to optimize the process for the needs of the project. In general, large projects have more processes compared to small projects, and critical projects have more processes than less significant projects. Tailoring takes into consideration the demands of the environment.
What are the ways of optimizing the processes for the environment?
They include lean production methods, retrospectives or lessons learned, next best funding. Lean production uses techniques such as value stream mapping to measure the ratio of value-adding activities to non-value-adding activities. The metrics calculated form a basis and measurement system for identifying and removing waste from production systems. Retrospectives or lessons learned meetings provide an opportunity for the project team to review the way in which it works and to suggest changes to improve process and efficiency. The last one is the question, where is the next best funding spent? Asking this question helps project teams determine if they should continue with the current task or move on to the next activity to optimize value delivery.
What else can be said about this subject?
Reviewing processes can entail determining if processes are efficient or If there is waste in the process, that can be eliminated. Time spent tracking performance to process is time the project team cannot spend on delivering the outcomes for which the project was commissioned. Therefore, project teams utilize just enough time reviewing process conformance to maximize the benefits delivered from the review while still satisfying the governance needs of the process. In addition to being efficient, processes should be effective. This means they need to comply with quality requirements, regulations, standards, and organizational policies, in addition to producing the desired outcome. Process evaluation can include process audits and quality assurance activities to ensure processes are being followed and are accomplishing the intended outcomes.
How do we balance competing constraints, Mr. Izgi?
Constraints can take the form of fixed delivery dates, compliance to regulatory codes, a predetermined budget, quality policies, considerations of the triple bottom line, and so forth. The constraints may shift and change throughout the project. A new stakeholder requirement may entail expanding the schedule and budget. A reduction in budget may entail relaxing a quality requirement or reducing scope. Balancing these shifting constraints while maintaining stakeholder satisfaction is an ongoing project activity. The decision and potential variances may be within the project team's authority to make trade-offs to deliver the end result. Either way, this balancing activity is ongoing throughout the project.
How do we maintain project team focus?
Project managers have a responsibility for assessing and balancing the project team focus and attention. This involves evaluating short and long-term projections of progress toward delivery goals. Leading the project team includes balancing the workload and assessing if project team members are satisfied with their work, so they remain motivated. To maximize business and stakeholder value delivered throughout the project team attention needs to be kept in a healthy balance. Leading with a goal of maximizing overall delivered value involves focusing on production, delivering value, and protecting the project team's production capability, project team health and satisfaction. The goal is to keep the project team focused on delivering value and maintain awareness of when potential issues, delays, and cost overruns enter the project.
How do we manage project communications and engagements?
Much of the project work is associated with communication and engagement, especially work associated with maintaining project team members and other stakeholder engagement. Information can be collected in meetings, conversations, and by pulling information from electronic repositories. Once collected, it is distributed as indicated in the project management communications plan. On a day-to-day basis, there are ad hoc requests for information, presentations, reports, and other forms of communication. An abundance of ad hoc communication requests may indicate that the communication planning was not sufficient to meet stakeholder needs. In this situation, further stakeholder engagement may be necessary to ensure stakeholder information requirements are met.
How are physical resources managed?
Some projects require materials and supplies from third parties. Planning, ordering, transporting, storing, tracking, and controlling these physical resources can take a large amount of time and effort. Large amounts of physical resources require an integrated logistics system. This is usually documented in company policies that are then implemented in projects. A logistics plan describes how the company policy will be implemented on the project. Supporting documentation includes estimates for the type of material, basis of estimates, expected usage over time, specifications for grade, and the time and location for deliveries. The objectives from a physical resource perspective are to reduce or eliminate the material handling and storage on site, eliminate wait times for materials, minimize scrap and waste, and facilitate a safe work environment. All of this work is integrated with the master project schedule to provide clear expectations and communications for all parties involved.
Now, we come to a new topic, which is procurement. How is it correlated with our performance domain?
Many projects involve some form of contracting or procurement. Procurement can cover everything from material, capital equipment, and supplies to solutions, labor, and services. In most organizations, project managers do not have contracting authority. Rather, they work with contracting officers or other people with expertise in contracts, laws, and regulations. Organizations usually have rigorous policies and procedures associated with procurements. The policies identify who has authority to enter into a contract, the limits of authority, and the processes and procedures that should be followed. Prior to conducting a procurement, the project manager and technically qualified project team members work with contracting professionals to develop the requests for proposals, statement of work, terms and conditions, and other necessary documents to go out to bid.
Can you explain to us the bid documents?
Sure. The important bid documents can include request for information. A request for information is used to gather more information from the market prior to sending out bid documents to a set of selected vendors. Request for proposal. This bid document is used for complex or complicated scope where the buyer is looking for the vendor to provide a solution. Request for quote. This bid document is used when price is the main deciding factor and the proposed solution is readily available.
Thank you. Can you explain the processes now?
The bid process includes developing and publicizing bid documents, bidder conferences, and selecting a bidder. Once the bid documents are distributed, the buyer generally has a bidder conference to respond to bidder questions and provide clarifying information. Then the bidders develop their responses and deliver them to the buyer by the date specified in the bid documents. Choosing the best vendor, sometimes known as source selection, is often based on a number of criteria, such as experience, references, price, and timely delivery. These variables may be weighted to reflect the relative importance of each. The buyer evaluates vendor bids against the criteria to select an appropriate vendor or vendors. The buyer and vendor negotiate terms and conditions. Most everything can be negotiated, from cost to delivery and payment dates, to location of work, ownership of intellectual property, and so forth.
In summary, what can be said about contracting?
Eventually, the parties reach an agreement and enter into a contract. The type of contracting vehicle depends on the size of the purchase, the stability of the scope of work, and the risk tolerances of the organizations. For projects that use an adaptive approach for some deliverables and a predictive approach for others, a master agreement may be used for the overall contract. The adaptive work may be placed in an appendix or supplement. This allows the changes to occur on the adaptive scope without impacting the overall contract. Once the vendor is selected, the project plans and documents are updated to incorporate vendor dates, resources, costs, quality requirements, risks, etc. From that point, the vendor becomes a project stakeholder. Procurements can take place at any point during the project. All procurement activities are integrated into the project operations.
How do we monitor new work and change in scope?
In adaptive projects, there's an expectation that work will evolve and adapt. As a result, new work can be added to the product backlog as needed. However, if more work is added than is being completed, or if the same amount of work is added that is being completed, the project will continue without end. The project manager works with the product owner to manage expectations around adding scope, the implications to the budget, and the availability of project team members. The product owner prioritizes the project backlog on an ongoing basis so that high priority items are completed. If the selected schedule or budget is constrained, the product owner may consider the project done when the highest priority items are delivered. In predictive projects, the project team actively manages changes to the work to ensure only approved changes are included in the scope baseline. Any changes to the scope are then accompanied by appropriate changes to the people, resources, schedule, and budget. Scope changes can add to uncertainty. Therefore, any change requests should be accompanied by an evaluation of any new risks that are introduced due to addition to or change in scope. The project manager works with the change control board and the change requester to guide change requests through the change control process. The changes are also communicated to the appropriate stakeholders.
Periodically, the project team may meet to determine what they can do better in the future. I mean, lessons learned, and how they can improve and challenge the processes in upcoming iterations. I mean, retrospectives. Ways of working can evolve to produce better outcomes. A lot of learning takes place during projects. Some of the learning is project-specific, such as a faster way to accomplish specific work. Some learning can be shared with other project teams to improve outcomes, such as quality assurance approach that results in fewer defects. Still, other learning can be shared throughout the organization, such as training users how to work with a new software application. Can you explain to us explicit and tacit knowledge?
Sure. Throughout the project teams develop and share explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge can be readily codified using words, pictures, or numbers. For example, the steps to a new process are explicit knowledge that can be documented. Explicit knowledge can be distributed using information management tools to connect people to information, such as manuals, registers, web searches, and databases. Another type of knowledge is tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is challenging to express as it cannot be codified. Tacit knowledge is comprised of experience, insights, and practical knowledge or skill. Tacit knowledge is shared by connecting the people who need the knowledge with people who have the knowledge. This can be accomplished via networking, interviews, job shadowing, discussion forums, workshops, or other similar methods. Because projects are temporary endeavors, much of the knowledge is lost once the project is completed. Being attentive to knowledge transfer serves the organization by not only delivering the value that the project was undertaken to achieve, it also allows the organization to gain knowledge from the experience of running projects.